Everyone, welcome to Gen X Marks the Spot. Today I have got a wonderful, what I think is a very wonderful and easygoing little episode for you. Right before this holiday season really swings off with Thanksgiving, and note that I do have my Thanksgiving tree with the famous Friends turkey mask right up here and some little turkey bills up on my wall, but I'm trying to keep up with it. But I wanted to do something kind of light to kick off the Thanksgiving week for those of us here in the United States. And I did forget to wish my Canadian friends a happy Thanksgiving last month, so I apologize for that. But what I want to talk about today is my top 10 LGBT movies that are non-woke. Now, what do you mean, Tracy, by LGBT? I mean ones that prominently feature either LGBT characters or have a prominent or secondary LGBT storyline. Now, most of these, in fact, 70% of them exactly, don't even really count as LGBT cinema. They are just great movies that happen to have gay characters or a gay storyline, a gay adjacent storyline. Now, I know that there are only 3 of them will be considered actually gay cinema, if you want to get into that. And I'm a huge fan of gay cinema because I am gay. And for so long, we didn't really see ourselves in the mainstream unless it was very derogatory. Now, I'm not trying to get into wokeness. These are anti-woke. These are movies that handle very sensitive or difficult topics and treat gay people, that is gay men, gay women, bisexuals, and transsexuals. That is what I consider a transsexual, an old school transgender. They realize that they have a mental illness and actually dressing and living as the opposite sex is how they treat themselves of their mental illness. And so some of these fall into that category. So I want to put that out there that this is not, they're not talking about should transsexuals be allowed to use certain restrooms or not getting any of that. If you walk into my restroom and you pass, I'm not looking under your skirt. But if you walk into my restroom with a 5 o'clock shadow and a widow's peak, I'm going to probably feel very uncomfortable and ask you to get out or get somebody to help get you out. That's kind of where I draw the line, but to each their own. So I don't want to get into a whole lot of controversy. I just want to let you know that there are really good movies out there that if you are a gay person or a trans person that has not seen yourself representative in what I really consider good movies, I want to give you some options. That's all it is. And so with that, let's get started. Coming in at number 10. 1998's Edge of 17. Now, I know there's a more recent movie with that same name. They are not the same. Look for 1998's Edge of 17. Both this one and number 9 will come off as very, very controversial in the same way that one of my other favorite movies, Dirty Dancing, comes off as controversial. And that is because a 17-year-old is involved with somebody in their early 20s. So it kind of walks that line between, is this okay? Is this not okay? But this wasn't, even though it probably should have been, it definitely should have been, wasn't as big a deal in the 80s and 90s as it is now. So fair warning, these first 2 kind of thread that line. But Edge of 17 is set in 1984 Ohio, with a young man who is questioning his sexuality. He's 17. It follows a summer and a school year. The summer, he starts working at the local amusement park in concessions, and he has a best girlfriend. They've been friends since elementary school, and she kind of has a crush on him, but he doesn't return the favor. And it's really a very nice coming of age story for both of them. He does eventually get involved with a 19 or 20-year-old that goes to the local University of Ohio State and gets himself into a spot of trouble, eventually finding true love and feigning a relationship with his best friend that hurts her, but in the end, it's all kind of resolved for the best. And if you're like me, if you've ever faked a relationship with a member of the opposite sex to keep your family off your back, you will definitely understand. And also the pain of falling in love with somebody that is not sexually attracted to you or interested in a relationship. It really strikes a bone. Plus, everyone in this movie is just absolutely adorable. But it's very well done. This is not a perverted movie. This is one that actually falls into actual gay cinema. This was not a mainstream release. You would have to actually go looking for this film. But everybody in this movie is absolutely adorable. All the actors, you just want to pinch their little cheeks. They're so adorable. So if you're into a very good coming-of-age story, it doesn't matter if you're gay or not. Edge of 17 will meet that requirement for you. Coming in at number 9 is the second of the two movies that I warned you about that do kind of walk that line. It is 2006's Loving Annabelle. This is kind of the female Edge of 17. You have a young girl, 17, rebellious, been thrown out of several prep schools by her wealthy family, and she's finally sent to a Catholic boarding school where she falls in love with her poetry teacher, who is about 21. So they end up having an affair, and eventually the teacher is both arrested and fired for what happened, as she should have been. She was a 21-year-old messing with a 17-year-old. It's not okay. And they portray it as not okay in the movie, but it is, again, a coming-of-age, coming-out story. It is based on a German film from 1931, Maiden in Uniform. The Germans did some pretty edgy stuff. And it is a great watch if you are a young lesbian, bisexual girl, or if you're just curious in a well-made, actual gay lesbian movie. Very well done by producer Catherine Brooks. And as I said, I have issues with it now that I'm old enough to have had children. Definitely see the problems with it, but unlike some of the others, the person is arrested and punished for what she did, as it should have been. But again, warning you, it's still a great movie. Check it out. Most of the rest of the movies on my list are, in my opinion, not gay cinema. There's one more that is really gay cinema-esque. That is, it's in that niche, but the rest of them are just really good movies that happen to have a LGBT main character, LGBT storyline. So at number 8, I have 1982's Making Love, starring Harry Hamlin, Michael Octane, and Kate Jackson from Charlie's Angels. This is a very this is a tearjerker. This is about a young couple that have been married for about 8 years, but they've also been, in a relationship way longer than that. Michael Octane plays a young doctor married to his lifelong romance, Claire, who is a studio executive. This is in the course of the 80s, early days of television. She's climbing the corporate ladder, but he unfortunately begins to question his sexuality, as he actually has throughout their relationship. And as a result, he's been putting off having children with her, and eventually begins an affair with Harry Hamlin, who's a bit of a gay playboy, and heartbreak ensues. Although it has a very satisfying, peaceful ending, it is one of those that if you've ever been in a situation where you have fallen in love with somebody that has hidden something from you or had to hide something from somebody, for whatever reason, I'm not saying that's okay. It's never okay, and it's certainly not okay to marry someone. Especially now. Maybe back then it was a little more understandable, but not now. But this is an absolute tearjerker. And if you can find it, check it out. It's a wonderful movie with real stories and real people. At number 7, I have 1980's Cruisin', starring the wonderful Al Pacino and Karen Allen. This is a great movie that was very mainstream for its time. It also drew a lot of ire from gay activists who said it portrayed gay men as a stereotype. But it is a murder mystery that takes place in the gay subculture of New York in the 1970s. And I got something to say to those activists of the day. Just because you point something out doesn't make it a stereotype. I've used to manage gay clubs. I've been in gay clubs. Those stereotypes very much exist. That's why they're stereotypes. So I don't see anything wrong with this movie. And it is a great murder mystery with an ending that is very inconclusive. If you haven't seen it, it ends with Al Pacino staring into a mirror. He went undercover to find a serial killer that was killing gay men in the underground gay scene of New York. And at the end of it, he is a heterosexual. He is living with his girlfriend, played by Karen Allen. But he is looking in the mirror, esteem, after he's just shaved his face. And he's looking at the leather stuff he wore when he was going undercover, all the stuff that he had experienced and seen. So you're left wondering. It's either one of two endings. Either he's having some sort of violent tendencies come out, that he's actually a bloodthirsty killer, or he feels that he's questioning his sexuality. So you don't really know. It's very inconclusive. But definitely check this one out. It's a brain teaser. It's a great murder mystery, and you will love it. Number 6 is 1999's But I'm a Cheerleader, starring Natasha Lyons. It is the reverse conversion story of a young girl. It is hilarious. I put it in the same category as the American Pie movies, so it's definitely one of those teenage, young 20s slapstick kind of things. It stars a lot of young actors and actresses from the 1990s that did those kinds of movies, and it's basically about a young girl who's a cheerleader. She dates the captain of the football team, and everyone around her thinks she's a lesbian, except her. And they basically force her to a gay conversion camp where it has the opposite effect, I'm sure, of what her parents wanted, and really makes her realize, hey, I am gay. So hilarity ensues. It's one of those, reverse brain drains, but I definitely recommend you check it out. It's just a lighthearted, good time. At number 5, I have 1976's Ode to Billy Joel, based on the 1967 song by Bobbie Gentry. And how can you base a movie on a song? Well, in the country folk genre, there's lots of those, from Coward of the County to The Gambler, with the story, songs that tell such an engaging story that you can actually make a movie out of them. And this is one of those. It's directed by Max Baer Jr. and was written by him. And he is also known as Jethro Bodine on the original Beverly Hillbillies. So this is a great, again, coming-of-age story. You have Billy Joe and Bobby, young sweethearts in a very rural Dust Bowl, Mississippi town. They're young and in love, and they're very sweet young people. And basically, it's a coming-of-age, coming-out story with a very tragic ending. I don't want to spoil it for you because this is definitely one you should check out. But you really feel sorry for both of these young people. It also stars James Best, Roscoe P. Coltrane from the Dukes of Hazzard. So you have 3 characters in this movie. Actually, you feel sorry for everyone in this movie. It's just a Southern Gothic tragedy from start to end. And the great thing about it, just like the song Ode to Billy Joe, which is also a Southern Gothic tragedy, Bobbie Jo Gentry is very ambiguous about why Billy Joe McAllister jumped off the Tallahatchie Bridge. And so in this one, Max Baer gives him a reason, and it is for probably one of the most heart-wrenching reasons you can think about. So definitely check this movie out. It's well worth your time. Number 4, it's To Wong Foo. Thank you for everything, Julie Newmar. You knew this one had to be on the list because it was a mainstream movie and it is one of the best movies ever. Starring Wesley Snipes, Patrick Swayze, John Leguizamo, Stockard Channing. This movie's got everything. So if you haven't seen it, it follows the story of 3 gay men who are also drag queens heading cross country in a car to go to the best drag queen in the universe pageant. I'm being tongue-in-cheek, but that's essentially what they're doing. And along the way, they break down in a small town and get to know the local townspeople and actually end up kind of helping the townspeople find some solutions to their own problem. If you're looking for a very non-PC gay adjacent movie, this is it. It stars RuPaul as a drag queen that wears a rebel flag that is called Rachel Tensions. That's how out of the box this movie is. This is 1990s diversity. And it's truly diversion of thought, not just diversion of everything else. But it is an excellent movie. It is truly, truly a slice of life. If you've ever been around drag queens, actual gay men that just do it as a job, this is a very real life portrayal of that world. I know because I've worked in bars that did it, and it is absolutely fun. I highly recommend 𝗂𝗏. Thanks for everything, Julie Newmar. Next is one that came out the following year, 1996's The Birdcage, starring Nathan Lane, Hank Azaria, and of course Robin Williams, Diane Feist, Gene Hackman. Everyone that's anyone in the 90s is in this movie. It is an excellent, excellent movie about two very flamboyant gay men that are trying to assist their adopted son. Well, actually, it's one of them's natural son, the other one's adopted son, trying to put on a happy home life for his fiance's very conservative Republican religious parents. And it is a slice of what conservatism and liberalism was in the 90s before they got all muddled and left went way over here. It is just a wonderful, wonderful movie, and it shows off the acting chops of everyone in it, and it is a heck of a good time. I highly recommend you check it out if you have not seen it. Coming in at number 2 is Deepak Mehta's 1996 masterpiece, Fire. Now, this is part of his Element series. There's also one called Water and one called Earth. So it's, Earth, Fire, and Water. And this tells the story of two arranged marriages in India, in which the older wife and the younger wife fall in love with each other, and basically it shows the fire they have to walk through to eventually be together. Although it has a happy ending-ish, it is still just a wonderful portrayal of how coming out can be or cannot be handled in a non-Western country, and I highly recommend it. It is the last movie on this list that would not be considered a mainstream movie, but is definitely LGBT cinema through and through. I highly recommend you check this movie out. And finally, my number 1 LGBT non-woke movie, because it handles the most tragic of all things within the LGBT community, and that's the AIDS epidemic, and that's 1993's And the Band Played On. This is an ensemble cast from Matthew Modine to Richard Gere to Lily Tomlin, B.D. Wong, Sir Ian McClellan. Everyone who's in it, who is anyone is in this movie. It tells the stories from the very beginnings of AIDS through when Reagan finally said the word AIDS out loud. And it shows how the U.S. government mishandled the epidemic, how Anthony Fauci mishandled the epidemic, and how many lives were lost as a result. It is an absolute tearjerker. There is no way around that, but it is one of those movies that I think needs to be seen, because it does tell the untold story of what happened behind the scenes during the 70s and 80s. And I hate to end this movie on this list on such a somber note, but a lot of these are tearjerkers because they tell real human stories about people that just happen to be LGBT. And as I think about it, most of these are LGBT. There's not one actual transsexual story, because 𝗂𝗏 are gay men. So yeah, maybe I should have said LGB movies. And I know what everybody's saying. Where's Silence of the Lambs? Silence of the Lambs is not an LGBT movie, because Buffalo Bill, as it stated plainly in the movie, was not a transsexual. He was just crazy. So I'm not going to put Silence of the Lambs on this list, though I do love Silence of the Lambs, don't get me wrong. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope You'll check some of these movies out. Now, if you want more of this, I'm going to be meeting with my good friend Brentley from Dangerous Rhetoric. He's going to give you his top 10, and then we're going to discuss them all a little bit more in depth. That'll be coming up very, very soon. So until then, I hope you find some time over your Thanksgiving weekend to check some of these out if you haven't seen them. And until next time, Gen X.